a child with lots of love. Lots of love, lots of love, lots of love, lots of love.
Hello everyone, it's me, Sukai Todd, here for the second episodic review of WandaVision, episode 2. And this is a spoiler review, so if you have not seen WandaVision and you don't want it to be spoiled, I highly recommend you don't watch these spoilers and these reviews until after you've seen it. These are all my personal opinions and critiques. Take what you want, leave the rest. And if you choose to stay, please enjoy, play nicely in the comments. And also please remember that if you think WandaVision is woke, female, and blah, 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 you might want to click off now. Okay, bye, thanks for watching. And for those of you who aren't offended by women being in media, let's go ahead and get started. And I just want to say thank you to all the people who have been viewing my videos that I've uploaded recently. I really appreciate all of you. You guys are lovely, so let's get into the characters. Okay, so Wanda and Vision Maximoff are continuing to try to fit into their quaint town in Westview in New Jersey, and they're now into the late 50s/early 60s of television, so just keep that in mind. And Wanda and Vision have entered the town's local talent show hosted by Dottie. I believe her last name is Smith, but that's also the name of the creator of 101 Dalmatians, so I'm just going to call her Dottie. And we will discuss Dottie and Agnes a little later, but Wanda and Vision are going to be performing in the talent show as Glamour and Illusion, which is something I'll get into. Also, I'm so sorry if you hear loud cars zooming in the background. I live in a slightly noisy area where I'm recording these, so I apologize for that. But I just wanted to say that I think this episode is, again, a flawed masterpiece. It's also made with a lot of love, just like the first one was. And it was really beautiful to watch. It had me lolling quite a bit. Although there's one line in this episode which does speak to the underlying darkness that is part of the episode and part of the series as a whole, that really, now I guess with everything going on, just kind of rubs me the wrong way, which may have been the intention from the creator's perspective, but as the kids say today, it hits different, but in a not so good way. So Agnes and Dottie, starting with Dottie, she is kind of the stereotypical mean girl until mean girl CEO, of the neighborhood, the chair lady of Wanda and Viz's, Viz is his nickname, of Wanda's neighborhood. And Wanda's trying to get on her good side, of course. So there's that. But Dottie is a bit suspicious of Wanda, to put it lightly. And when there's this weird radio interference with Dottie and Wanda talking to each other, it's quite unsettling, and Dottie ends up hurting her hand, and she's just left with a very off feeling. Like, she leaves you as an audience member with a very off feeling. And Agnes, the way she laughed when Wanda said, "Why don't I just be myself?" If Agnes isn't a villain, and again, I said this in my first review, but like, I have nothing against Catherine Hahn as an actress. I think she's a great actress, but I don't like Agnes. You'll be seeing why I use her name of Agnes as we continue with the reviews, but let's continue. Okay, so Geraldine, aka Captain Monica Rambeau. I actually really enjoyed Monica's story within WandaVision, and when she introduced herself, I thought it was really cool because she was befriending Wanda. She was a great support system, and she's like that Wanda stan, which, not gonna lie, I'm kind of here for it. But I think that Captain Rambeau, aka Monica, aka Geraldine, is a really cool character. She's very friendly and she's very human in this very odd world of Westview. And when she performs at the talent show, more or less by accident, it's very fun to see. She's very humorous. She gives a kind of a brightness to the show that Wanda is a bright, fun character, don't get me wrong. I feel like Geraldine, as we'll call her, has her own brightness that feels almost like satirical, making fun of certain tropes that were used for African American women throughout media history. So, in my opinion, of course, this is purely subjective, but I really enjoyed Geraldine's work in the first episode where she's playing the role of Geraldine. And yes, we all know she's Monica Rambeau. The Marvels came out, whatever. Haven't seen the Marvels. Sorry, not sorry. But she'd be one of my main reasons if I do see the Marvels film. Captain Monica Rambeau. I would love to see more about her by herself in her own film. But we'll get into solo films in a future video. Or rumors about solo films, I should say. But yes, Captain Rambeau, 10 out of 10 acting. Loved Monica Rambeau's work. And I would attempt to pronounce the actress's name, but I really do not want to butcher it. So if somebody wants to comment below and tell me how to pronounce the actress who plays Geraldine, please feel free to do so. And I did spell Geraldine the way I think it's spelled, so if I didn't spell it right, I apologize for that as well. I always thought Geraldine was spelled the way it sounds, but if it's not, sorry. Also, fun fact, the name Geraldine comes from a vampire story about two lesbian lovers, one of whom's a vampire, and the victim of the vampire, and this is based off of a much older vampire legend, but the victim of the vampire, her name is Geraldine, which I think shows a lot of love that was put into the lore of WandaVision. So that's another plus for the show. Another, I guess I should say, good thing about the show is that, like I said in my first review, there's so much love put into it. So carrying on. So, for those of you who haven't seen The Craft, I'm going to spoil it a little bit. Glamour is when you're able to take on the appearance of something or someone through the power of witchcraft. That will become important later, so just put that in the back of your mind. But Glamour and Illusion are two Marvel characters. They're kind of the sister couple to WandaVision in the Marvel comics. Yes, I did my research. But I thought it was really cool to see Wanda and Vision basically cosplaying in their own way of Glamour and Illusion, and the way Vision was more or less drunk on bubble gum, but anyway, or chewing gum, was really interesting. I think Glamour, aka aka Vision, and Wanda Illusion, I think that speaks heavily to the foreshadowing that is continued on in the second episode. And also, quick side note, I did see the Stark Industries watch in the quote-unquote commercial break, so that was hilarious. And a little weird, little off. It was still funny enough to be, enjoyable, but it was still a little bit, again, it was scratching the surface of something that's been kind of hinted at and implied throughout the show. So we'll get to that in episode 4 and 5. But for now, let's stick to episode 2. I think the addition of using the names of Glamour and Illusion within WandaVision is kind of brilliant, especially referencing two much lesser known Marvel characters in the Marvel comics who are, again, kind of the sister couple, as far as I know, to WandaVision. I think that's really cool. So I liked that reference. I thought it was nice to have a little obscure Marvel reference hidden in there. And hopefully more people will look into Glamour and Illusion, and that might be a Marvel show someday. Owned by Marvel. We don't speak about Disney in this house. Anyway, kidding. But yeah, I thought that Glamour and Illusion did a great job, especially with, let's leave the Violet out of this one, shall we? My best Glamour slash, or I should say, my best Illusion slash Wanda impression for that. And I also thought the talent show itself, while a little bit, do I want to say cringy? While a little bit, I'll say silly at times, also worked in the favors of Wanda and Vision in terms of them fitting in the comedy aspect of the show, because it is very comical and comedic, two seemingly different things, but they kind of intertwine in WandaVision, in my opinion. So yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I do have some critiques about the talent show, which we'll get into, but overall, the talent show with Illusion and Glamour was quite interesting. And for those of you who don't know, some people in other countries, in areas, i.e. Australia and Britain, they spell glamour with a U. So just don't be offended by that, please. And please ignore the loud cars in the background. I'm starting to feel Scarlet Witchy hearing that annoying car zooming. But, always when I'm recording a video. But anyway, yes, those are my thoughts on the talent show. I also thought Bev was pretty funny, and the piano was pretty funny. What happened to that piano? Which falls into the critiques I have of the talent show, but we'll get into that as well. So, yeah. I guess the segment won't be as long as I thought it was. We'll see when I edit it. But, yeah, the talent show was cute. It was funny. It was definitely a comedy show. But there was a meeting in the library that took place before that, which we'll talk about with my critiques. But first we have to address the beekeeper, who appeared kind of seemingly out of nowhere. And of course, there was some static, and he disappeared. So let's just say there was an interruption in the program. But the beekeeper is not what he seemed. And it fits into the eras of TV, more so Twilight Zone-ish, which WandaVision heavily uses inspiration from the Twilight Zone. It's heavily influenced by the Twilight Zone. And that's one reason why, although the beekeeper moment is haunting, it's also genius, in my opinion. Like, the way that the beekeeper kind of appears out of nowhere, and then there's static, and then it goes back to the regularly scheduled programming. It's quite interesting. So, yeah, just keep in mind that beekeeper is not what he seems to be. He didn't just, no pun intended, he didn't just appear out of nowhere. He wasn't just looking at Wanda with a bunch of bees around him. Like, there's much more to it than that. But yeah, let that little Twilight Zone moment also be in the back of your mind. Take notes, kids. For those of you who would rather me spoil it than actually watch the show, which I understand. And ignore the cars in the background. And sorry for the text you just heard, but yeah. So let's get into my critiques of WandaVision episode 2. Which are pretty straightforward, but they're also And I'm sorry, I need to respond to this text, but you'll see in a minute. Okay, so let's see about the critiques for the talent show and the library meeting that Vision had with the neighborhood men or neighborhood boys in the TV show with these annoying cars. Okay, so as I mentioned before, the talent show is a flawed masterpiece, and while I didn't mind Vision's, glamour of trying to find the cards for Herb or her being sped up, that didn't bother me too much. What I will say is the meeting in the library with all the neighborhood boys and then Vision. While him getting drunk on gum was kind of humorous, I have to admit that when Vision mentioned that one of the neighborhood fellows was a Comunist, Commuinst, I don't know if I can say that word, mentioned that he was not exactly on the best political side from what we as Americans know. But anyway, when Vision mentioned that he's a communist, yeah, that was very awkward. And seeing it in this time of my life, it really, as much as it was intended to be a twisted metaphor, it did its job, but it also kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I mean, I think it was intended to, but it kind of went a little too far with that joke, in my opinion. Okay, so retrospectively, after watching episode 2, I would say that it's still a great episode, hilarious, and I really enjoyed how at the end Wanda and Vision kissed, and if you couldn't tell, everything became colorized, which means that for those of you who don't speak film, speak film nerd, things went from black and white to color lighting, which I thought was pretty cool. So that was a cool transition from one era to another, which was the 60s. Although color television wasn't that late in anyway. But but yeah, the switch into colorized television I thought was really unique. And I think it sets the tone for the next episodes that we'll be reviewing. I thought it was really cool in the whole "it's really happening" moment with Wanda being pregnant with Billy and Tommy, because Wanda and Vision, when a man and a woman love each other very, very much. I don't feel the need to explain that further. If you've seen any movie involving romance, any rom-com of the last 10 to 20 years, you don't need me to tell you what happens. But one thing I'll say is, what I love about episode 2 is that they fade it to black. Like, she turns off the light, and then at the end of the episode, she's pregnant. I like how clean cut it is, in my opinion. But what are your thoughts on episode 2? Comment below. Comments are strictly moderated, so play nicely. And thank you for watching. And I appreciate you watching this, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.